very good evening to you and welcome to another edition of Safe TV2 Presents. My name is Andrew Weeks. It's glad to have you joining us again another Friday evening for this program that we have here live in our studios in South Roosevelt Gardens. Tonight we're talking about child and teenage abuse. And I have with me two individuals to discuss this issue with us because this is a program. This topic is a prelude to what is going to come tomorrow. The Central Adventist Youth Department will be hosting a teenage and child and teenage abuse awareness program, and they'll be discussing. Experts will be there to discuss child psychology and child protection. We'll be educating the audience on this topic, and there'll be music, poetry, drama, and many other things to deal with the topic. However, tonight we have Mr. Vidyath Kissoon. He's a child rights advocate, and he is putting on a different cap this evening. He has many caps, but tonight he's putting on one cap, a child rights advocate. Mr. Vidyath, welcome to the program.
Good evening. Happy Sabbath to everybody.
Same to you, sir. It's good. He's a Muslim, eh?
I heard.
But he knows the Advent faith. So, welcome again, sir. I have with me as well Melissa Delph English. She is the Central Adventist Youth leader, AY leader rather, call it AY leader, but it's Adventist Youth leader at the Central Adventist Church. The person who's in charge of the program tomorrow at Central. So, if you don't have anywhere to go tomorrow, come down to Central and be a part of this very important discussion on child abuse or child and teenage abuse awareness. And it's a serious matter, and we're going to be just giving you a little brush up on what's to come tomorrow. Gentlemen, lady, welcome again. Now, before we get into the program proper, we're going to ask a group of young people from the Sir Potter College of Education to sing for us tonight a very interesting and familiar song, but the words has a very important message. The heartbeat of the mission. Yeah, the heartbeat of the mission. It's a song that was done by a very popular recording artist, and he will bring that, this group will bring that song to you tonight as we meditate and prepare for the discussion after the song. The heartbeat of the mission. Take a look.
Let the call going out across the land in every nation. A call to all who swear allegiance to the cross of Christ. A call to true humility to live our life responsibly. Deep in her devotion to the cause of any prize.
Let us then be sober, moving only in the Spirit, as aliens and strangers in a hostile foreign land. The message we're proclaiming is repentance and forgiveness, the offer of salvation to a dying race of men. To love the Lord our God is the heartbeat of a mission, the spring from which the service overflows. Across the street or around the world, the mission's still the same. Proclaim and live the truth in Jesus' name.
As a candle is consumed by the passion of the flame, spilling light unsparingly throughout a darkened room.
spring from which a service overflows across the street or around the world. The mission's still the same. Proclaim and live the truth in Jesus' name.
Oh, yes. The song that was made popular by Steve Green, To Love the Lord Our God, is the heartbeat of the mission. And our mission tonight is to deal with this topic called child and teenage abuse. But first, let me jump to Melissa. Melissa, you are hosting this program at Central tomorrow.
Correct.
What prompted you to jump into such a topic at Central at this time, in this juncture of our history, 50 years as an independent nation? Why you choose that topic at Central this time? Why?
First of all, I want to wish everyone happy Sabbath and to thank Channel 2 for opening the doors, giving us time, really space for us to be able to promote this program and to raise such a concerning issue. We decided to do this program, first of all, because we notice there's a need in the community. We've been noticing that rape has increased a lot in Guyana. Every time you read the newspaper, you would see toddlers being raped, children being raped, teenagers being raped. And it's not only just teenagers, women as well. But for me, the most shocking cases is when toddlers are being raped. And I think we need to put systems in place. It's not just the government doing their part, but society as well doing their part. We need to educate men and women to respect and value children, value minors, and to give them the space in society that they need. I think that the church has a very strategic position within society, and therefore we need to take advantage of that in the sense that we need to use it to help the community per se. And one of the things I believe we need to work on is on prevention measures on child abuse and teenage abuse. And at times when you listen to the term child and teenage abuse, people believe we're just talking about sexual abuse, but there are different forms of child and teenage abuse. We're talking about neglect, we're talking about emotional, psychological, physical, and sexual. So it isn't just one type of abuse, but different types of abuse. It would be good that within our society we can really trace the line between what is discipline a child and what is physical ill treatment to a child. We need to really draw that line and be able to distinguish between both of them. Neglect. When our guardians and parents neglectful, those things need to be clarified. And there's also this other false conception. When we talk about sexual abuse, people believe it's just the child has to be penetrated. If I come and I tell a kid, let's watch a porn movie, that's a type of sexual violence. If I come and I exhibit myself naked in front of a kid, that's a form of sexual violence. And it's good for us to be able to clarify that to the public, to the viewers. Maybe people didn't know this. Child and teenage prostitution, child pornography. Do you know what it is? For example, people send a nude pic. How would you categorize that? As child pornography or just a text? So those are things that we're going to be talking in depth tomorrow. One of the presenters for tomorrow is Miss Talisha Williams. She is the lawyer of the Child Protection Agency, and we will have Miss Musa Hudson from the Ministry of Public Health. After these two presentations, we will have a segment of half an hour of question and answer for you to be able to clarify all your queries, and you can go home tranquilly that all your questions would have been answered. These are people with a lot of experience. Sitting on the panel will be also Mr. Kisoon, who's a very experienced person in the area in the sense of an advocacy towards child rights. At times we fail to see the relevance of the child within within our family and within society. When we see children, we need to see them not only as what they are today, but as what they can become in the future. That child can be the future president, a future nurse, a future doctor, but they can also be a future delinquent, rapist, murderer. So depending on the type of environment they are bringing, what the values we instill in them, the way how we educate them, and the power of choice they at the end may choose, that will end up molding the child's future, the child's character.
Well said, Melissa. We hope that you out there, viewers who have an opportunity, the time on your hands, and you want to sit back and share your thoughts on this topic, you can come tomorrow at Central for 4 o'clock and listen to this very important topic. But Vidyath, I know that you, as a child rights advocate, and you have been trained by a lot of people in this area, Beverly Brathwaite Chan, Dennis Coffey Jr. You have a lot of training and a lot of experience in this topic where child abuse and child rights are concerned. The question that I want to ask you, sir, have we as a society or as policymakers in this country, have they been doing enough to end the scourge of child abuse right now?
Okay, so thank you, Andrew, and good evening again to everyone. And very important question: have we been doing enough? And as long as child abuse exists, and generations of people become abusers, and we obviously are not doing enough. And as Melissa said, a lot of the work that Adventist youth are doing, and I've just got to acknowledge that in the little over 20 years of doing work on domestic violence and child abuse, I give praises to the Seventh-day Adventist Church because it has always tried. It has been involved. It has been different people. You have to keep educating because there's so many different challenges every time. Just as much as you're educating, there are other forces on educating and pushing against it. So it's an ongoing battle. So have we been doing enough? So right now where we are in Ghana, we have laws, which we have the Protection of Children Act, we have the Domestic Violence Act, we have the Sexual Offences Act. And so we've come to a place where now we have some laws in place, which we didn't have. The Domestic Violence Act was 1996. So we got some new legislation. We don't have systems to push legislation. We have, certainly there are more, in addition to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, many other organizations have taken on board the idea that we need to teach. But the work has to be ongoing, the education has to be reinforced all the time. And I think, as Melissa said, it's 2 levels. It's the government and the state putting the mechanisms in place to make sure child abuse doesn't happen. And I think, Andrew, Melissa, I think it's, for us as we talk about the state, we think about the tragedy last night with the burning of the child, and our thoughts to the George family, and to the 2 children to the 2 children who died, and the other children who were suffering. And we think of the state and how the state deals with children. So when we talk about child abuse, as Melissa said, we're talking about physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and neglect, right? So that whole, and it has become more complicated because we have the internet, we have financial issues, we have all sorts of things happening now. And we also have the problem with where we as a society, we're still at war, we're trying to figure out whether beating children is okay or is abuse or not abuse. And if you want to talk, we can't talk about child abuse and preventing child abuse if we're not going to say, hold on a minute, let's see, why do we beat children? And we beat children because children can't beat me back. Now, never mind what anything else said. And I learned all these wonderful things from teachers, within the church, right, within the same church, about, the importance of parenting, so that we, there are people who holler and shout at children, tell children things. And
Go in your room.
no, not even going to room, but there's a man who's done a
Expletive
thing
and so
with
on,
the,
yes.
there's a friend in Trinidad who's just written a book called a book of poetry. You have your father hard head, right? So I mean, this kinds of things, these kinds of
Yes.
insulting remarks. Damn good, you're ugly, you're this, you're that, and while anger and all of that, and it's complicated by moments of remorse and so on. So parenting is something we have to teach all the time, because for many reasons, it's the one job in the world which we don't need training for. We don't have to get an certificate. If you have to do your job, we have to go to school, we have to get something. But
But
parenting,
parenting is a different
it's just about putting the semen in the womb. And then if the child baby come out, then you do whatever you feel like and you think is right, and without any more education, preparation. So it is so it's all of this that has to happen, which we have to keep pushing. And things like parenting, and so the government can do so much, but as society,
Yes.
as church, as community, we have to keep talking. How do we tell young people about what it would be like, how to unlearn, how to do things differently? That your parents did what they did. Because some people believe that, okay, I get beaten, I turn out good. And then we go through the whole thing. Or if I didn't get beat, I wouldn't have been a good man I am today. And you have to ask, okay, that's what they knew then.
Yeah.
But things are different now. You need to keep your children close to you, right? It's not to have them alienated.
You said a very important point there, because in today's society, our young people now, our boys and girls growing up, they are faced with a lot of challenges in terms of the technology that they have out there.
Yeah.
And persons now, you have, like you said, you have the television, you have the internet, you have your phone.
Right.
How do you guard your children to, identify they have and they have not, or the pros and cons, the good and the bad, at least in their home, when you're at home with them, you will train them. You will say here, you don't speak to people like this, you don't ill-treat people, you don't fight, you don't do this, you don't do that. And then when they go to school, it's a different story, and to get them to focus on these things. But then again, it all, like you said, it all come back to parenting at home. It has to start from there.
You have to, because I think we're learning, and I think I heard Pastor speak on the program before. Pastor Rogers was, there was a caller and talking about how at home communication, he was praying for family and saying that, praying that they understand that you might have tensions and frustrations and so on,
Yeah.
but that you understand how communication is important and learn to communicate with love.
Right.
And I think, that is something that we don't know. Guyanese, Caribbean people, we come from a history of violence, or a history of slavery,
Correct.
of colonialism. It's a violent history, right? So we are a violent society. We're born out of violence,
Right.
right? So we have to unlearn all of that now and become completely new. And just, it is more easy to learn to use a cell phone than it is to learn to be a peaceful, loving person, right? So yes, it is require unlearning. Just an interesting thing, and this is something to watch. Today, I heard a student present on some research she did, where she found that, the use of young people, teenagers, with their devices, the WhatsApp, Facebook, and all that, and the time spent communicating in the family. And it was very interesting to find, that the people who were using their devices did not feel that they could have time to communicate with the other people living in the house with them. So therefore, it's like a gap that is being filled.
There's no time to
Right. So
communicate.
it's like so in the void of the preventing abuse that Melissa's talking about. In addition to preventing, we have to talk about what do we promote. Yeah, we're promoting communication. We're promoting peace, nonviolent parenting, right? I think I learned this as well from the Seventh-day Adventists about discipline. The word discipline came from disciple,
Thank
right?
you.
And Jesus never beat any of his disciples, as far as we know.
Neither insulted them.
Right, neither insulted them, right? But he taught with love, right? So all of these are, these are things we have to unlearn, because I mean, when the slave owners beat us and beat our ancestors and told them that it was for your own good, right? That you're doing this because it was divinely inspired. We have to get rid of, we have to liberate ourselves from all of this history.
But you made a very important point as well, because let us talk about this right now. We know that when a child would feel, afraid if he does something wrong. He would, he would expect that mommy or daddy would either spank him or put him in a corner for timeout, or punish him in some way or another. Now, I want to tell our viewers, when does abuse becomes not okay?
So, what do you
Abuse is
mean?
never
Yeah.
okay.
But, I mean,
So abuse is never okay, Andrew.
Good.
Abuse is never okay.
I know that.
But let us understand what abuse is, right?
Let us talk
Right.
about- let us
Yeah.
talk
Let's
about-
talk about what is
Define it.
abusive behavior.
Define it.
Let's talk about that first.
So
What
let
is
us
a- what is-
let
what
us
is child
recognize,
abuse?
right? So what we're not, anytime we talk about child abuse of children, right? We're talking abuse of anybody. It's where we're using our power, we're using violence
Our
or
will.
other behaviors
Over the other.
to force our power and to coerce. And usually children are the most vulnerable because they're smaller, they're more dependent, right? They're taught to depend on adults and to obey adults. So children become dependent, and especially in a familiar situation, the child is dependent on the parent for care and all of that, right? So any behavior which is aimed at showing power, violence, and this interesting thing about punishment, and I defer to, now remember, I have moved from a position where I used to think beating children was all right. Thanks to the intervention of many people, I now have learned that it is not okay.
You had to
and I
unlearn.
don't- Right, I had to unlearn, right.
Okay.
And even though I said, there are many times I want to beat people, there are a lot of people I would love to beat.
Whoa.
I mean, adults, right? So, you're in a minibus with the minibus playing the dirty music. Do you beat the children who behave dirty, or you beat the adults who play the music? We don't ask ourselves these questions, right?
Yeah.
These are the things we don't ask. Who you really beating?
Who do you blame?
Yeah, who you blaming, right? So, in the in understanding abuse, now, one of the goals about punishment, consequences, is so that we must teach children that behavior has consequences. So, is it the child spills something? You tell the child, don't play around this thing, but the child eventually spills the thing. So, what does that mean? You beat the child, or you get the child to clean it up. If it's something the child had to, the child does without. But you understand, I mean, it's about taking time and this kind, because the discipline
Yes.
is about teaching, right?
Right.
And what is the alternative? So a child who's healthy and exploring will go for the thing. The children imitate adults. We tell people, look at your children. They will imitate you, they will imitate your neighbor, and they will imitate the adults. You're not cursing, but you're watching a film which has cursing on it,
Right.
and you think the child's sleeping. Right? I'm in a minibus and there are people with little children listening to the nasty, dirty music. So when the children are picking up language, they pick it up from there.
Right.
And you go beat the child for cussing in the wrong place in church.
When you ask him where you get it
Right,
from.
and where did they hear it from? So it's all these things about how do you teach children to filter, to know, what is good and bad, and you have to teach. There is another teacher who reminded us that before the ages between 0 and 5, that is the most important time
The child's life.
to learn the difference of how to behave, how to assert themselves. And for children to listen, sometimes children are very honest. They will see, but we think they're rude, right? Children speak truth. They say the babes, from the mouths of babes come words of truth. But sometimes people think it's rudeness and they should shut up and one slap. But sometimes in doing that, if something is happening to the child or somebody is going to prey on the child, they'll come and talk.
Right.
And that's one of the things you want to encourage children to do, that if something is happening to them that they don't like or they're having difficulties, they must talk. And ChildLink is an organization which had a program going on called the TEL program. And there were different programs in school teaching children, look, if anything is happening to you, find somebody to tell. Right?
And that's a whole
Who
point.
will not beat you for saying you must lie or.
Hold that point right there, because I want us to look at this other aspect of things, because when it comes to society and laws and different jurisdiction where laws are concerned, For instance, in America, parents can't spank their children or beat their children.
That's in some places they can still, and teachers.
Good.
There's this big myth going on about America. Please listen.
I know.
America's a violent place, as we all know. Please don't use the standard of.
I know.
Guyana's a violent place too,
I
right?
use that point in
Right.
place to say
Yeah.
that it has become so misplaced and overbearing that they believe that they have a right. No, the American culture
Right.
has a right to overpower our culture, right? We tend to look at that culture and emulate it and say it's okay for our society,
That's a different thing. Yes.
but it's not necessarily so.
Right.
Because we have our own culture, we have our own rules, we have our own law. We grew up in a different culture where we have respect for elders, where we have respect for people, where we have respect for one another. But that has gone out the window because we have followed another cultural norms. In a sense, not entirely.
Right.
In a sense, but not entirely. Because I remember one of my cousins, can't be the child, if she only raised her voice a little louder
Right.
to her child, she would call the police. Police would come. Why are you treating this child? You know, we hear something happening. You carry down to the station, you write a report because you have heard that this child is being ill-treated badly. You know, our laws, what I really want to talk about now is what our laws have in place to either protect children
Right.
from abuse, right, or prosecute those who abuse children.
Right. So right now we have these different laws. You have the Domestic Violence Act. So any in a domestic violence situation, which includes parents and children, spouses, partners, the elderly, the abuse of the elderly. So the Domestic Violence Act covers all forms of abuse within that familiar society, right? Now, in the Child Protection Act, it's more specific. It also discusses some of these other behaviors, like selling liquor to children, selling tobacco and so to children, anything that would put a child at risk, putting the children to work and things like that. But it also gives the state, the Child Care and Protection Agency, the ability to come in, to intervene, to remove the child and put the child somewhere safe while the parents are attended to, and then prosecution and so on can follow, right? And of course, there's space for the parents to reorient themselves, right, to learn and unlearn. It's not just you go to jail and come out worse than you were before. That frequently happens, right?
Okay.
And then, of course, we have like the Sexual Offences Act, which is very specific about sexual offenses, all right? So those are sort of the main legislation. We have the Education Act, which continues to allow teachers to beat children, even if it probably doesn't allow, I'm very sarcastic about this, but, children don't have to learn to read it. There's no mandate for the children to learn to read and write, but, teachers, anyway, sorry, our Education Act is outdated. It is in contravention of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which Guyana has signed on to. Guyana has signed on to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and have the fact that we allow teachers to beat children in our schools.
So don't go to the word talk,
Alright.
because that got a serious debate. Better to
Well,
flog
I
but
think
not to
beyond,
flog.
so the problem why we can't deal with child abuse in Guyana is because we get locked on this beating children story. That's the reality,
Okay.
right? We can't because as long as we say it is okay to beat children, we can't deal with it. Because at what point, like you asked, this is a question which I remember we would get, and if we had workshops and so on, we talk about this, right? Is that if I give the child 2 lashes with my hand, there's abuse or there's violence, right? And then we start going into which weapons to use, which,
A cane, a
is it a cane, a stick of wood, the pot spoon, the pot of water, the bellna, all the things that we get hit with, different times, right? Different people get hit with. The shoe, take off the shoe belt, slipper, right? But that's not the conversation we're supposed to be having. Is how do you deal with these things? How do you learn about your children so you don't have to resort to that?
Something I'd like to zoom in at this time. Usually this has been, as he said, is something inherited, right, from, way back, because we have inherited from slavery. When our masters used to beat us or treat us, and for them to supposedly get better performance of us, wherever we were working, etc., etc. But for me, we need to unlearn that, and we need more to focus on reasoning, analyzing, really internalizing what is better for us and what would benefit us on a long-term basis. And that is exactly what I think we need to do with children, for us to be able to have adults who may be able to live in harmony within society and be highly effective and highly performing. If you check carefully, those educators, and speaking to the teachers, at times you ask a question, you ask something in class, you just explain something, and you ask something about the same topic that you just explained, and at times people cannot answer you. You ask something and the response is different. And do you know why? Because we haven't taught our children to reason. Our typical reaction is just to explode on them, tell them to shut up, you don't know what you're saying. But we never take time to really dissect, explain step by step what we're trying to say, and also let them come up with their own answers. Based on what they're saying, let us see exactly how we can make them realize what is better and more beneficial for them. Example. A child comes to me and I'm trying to explain to him about saving money. If I'm giving him a monthly stipend, and I'm telling him, you know what, I want you to learn to have your tithes, your offering from here, and from here you need to distribute it between your passage, your passage, as well as what you would and the credit for your phone, or maybe the plan that you have for your mobile. So that is how you have to be distributed. Then the child is gonna tell me, but I only have one teenage life. I need to spend it on other stuff. Why do I need to do that? Then we're gonna, instead of us trying to explain to him, look, you need to be good stewards of what you have, and this is gonna help you in the future to be better able to manage your finances when you become an independent adult and stuff like that. Our reaction is to usually lash out on them when that doesn't help. And with like that, we have many other cases. We need to teach our children to reason and to see why things are wrong or why things can be right and stuff like that. I think that is key, teaching people to reason. At times we allow the children, and if we see what's happening right now, people are very impulsive. They act and then they realize. Isn't that the thing? They act and then they realize. When we should be focusing on first we think and then we act. That is the correct thing.
We act and then we think.
Right now, we act and then we think.
Yeah, so
and regretfully sometimes.
And regretfully. So that is the problem. And we really need to check on that. Reasoning, teaching our children and teenagers critical thinking and life skills. Parental skills need to be taught at schools. That is something key. We need it urgently. That is really damaging us big time.
I've seen a while back there had been a lot of what you would call awareness or PSAs about child abuse and sexual abuse on television. I think it had happened probably late last year or mid last year. They had this promo that was talking about sexual abuse of an uncle who abusing a little child. That was a powerful message that had woken up a lot of people, right? And they are perpetrators of child abuse, probably in your workplace, in your school, even in your church and mosques and temple, sitting there. We don't know who they are until they are caught. The question I want to ask you, Mr. Kissoon, is the policymakers of the Social Protection Department of our country have a list of or area in the country that we can say is high in abuse of children or have sexual predators there in this region, that region, or this community and that community, you need to watch yourself, watch your children. You know, do they have the kind of
So,
statistics
okay,
to say that?
so I think, so from
like a sex
all the
offences
practice,
registry
right,
and
so you're talking about the
sex
registry.
Do they have that?
Okay, so first of all, the registry, as far as I know, a registry has not been set up because the Child Protection. Okay, but the Child Protection Act allows for a registry of people who have been convicted of offenses under that act, which the ministry keeps, right?
In a vault or something?
In a space, because there are malicious people who might use, because at the end of the day, justice, rehabilitation and justice, we have to understand the role of rehabilitation and justice. And if we believe that if we send somebody to jail and they're going to come out worse and they must continue to be punished afterwards, whatever their crimes are, I mean, child abuse is one of many different crimes. We have to think, you know, you don't continue lynching people long after. However, the goal is protecting children.
Okay.
Right. So, as long as there are convictions, so I'm not sure, I don't think that the registry has been set up because, of course, convictions don't necessarily happen. Conviction rates are very low, as we know, for these sexual offenses and so, right?
Well, that's terrible.
Now, what I do know, though, is that organizations, churches, any place which works with young people and children, they put into place what are called child protection policies. I know the Adventist Church has one, right? So you have child protection policies, which says that if you're going to be looking after children in this place, whether it's church, temple, mosque, wherever,
Club, whatever.
all of us will understand, first of all, you get training. This is what is inappropriate behavior towards children, right? You will not be touching a child in this way. You will not be attempting to sleep with a child, whether you're the pastor, the whoever, the whatever. Or if you're talking to a child, another adult, or the child's parent, or, you know, somebody else will be there, you're not alone. So there's a whole set of things that you put into that policy. And then you can have your own mechanism
Okay.
to ensure that if there's somebody who you think violated that policy, because it is possible, for example, in Guyana where it is still legal to beat children, you can have a policy which says that, no, I don't want any you're not beating children in my place. So if our policy says you come to work with here, or you're a part of this organization, we don't beat the children while they're in our care, and you go beating the children, you will be fired. No, of course, you haven't committed you know, it's not about police matter. Of course, if you do, if you've committed an offense, it has to be reported to the police, right?
It's company policy.
Right. But the point is that you have those policies, so you're protecting the children in your care.
Okay.
And that is really important so for everybody to understand, because, you know, it might be things, there's all sorts of things, like if people going out on outings and things like that. I know, for example, in Ghana, we had some organizations, the age of consent, as people know, is 16 for boys and girls. Many organizations, and I myself, wanted the age of consent to be 18
Me too.
with an age gap. You know, with
Me
the
too.
3-4 years age gap.
Me too.
So, two of the organizations that I had belonged to, the child protection policy was clear that if anybody in that organization was having a relationship with anybody under 18, even though the legal age is 16, but as far as this organization was concerned, if you were living or having a sexual relationship with somebody under 18, the organization wanted nothing to do with you.
Okay.
So do you understand how, but you weren't necessarily committing a crime.
Right.
Right? Because the point is being made that you're not going behind young people and children. Right?
So you're saying, in other words,
So-
the registry.
So the registry is a national thing, but might not be useful because of the, but you have to focus on education and prevent. The registry is at the, you know, that's at the other end. It's like individual, it's continuing lynching, whatever. Yes, you can access it. I mean, but if it is established, there's a procedure for it to be accessed. And only maybe the lawyer tomorrow will explain. She will know if it is set
So
up.
if you're a
Let's finish
repeated child or abuser, repeated,
Right.
it would not say that this person is going to be put on television. Is that this is a repeated
No,
child
if
offender.
you
No.
are an organization who has to hire people to look after children or teach or something, then you could access and make, that was the intention from my reading of the law,
Yes.
is that if you have to be like an NGO or school or something, or, you know, faith-based, that look, you want to hire Vidiki soon. So you check the registry to see if this person is on the,
Okay, on the
on it,
okay.
right? Or there was a little interesting case where some people who had been involuntarily remigrated from the U.S., right, for child offenses, whether they were going to be added to the record because they were going to be opening establishments where children were going to access, right? So, but again, but the prevention comes from educating. You know, it's educating children and educating all adults.
You made a
Do
very
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
about continuing to punishing the people who are already convicted, which, yeah, that's one aspect.
But you made a very important
Right.
point, and I wanted to amplify it a little bit more because,
Education is key.
yeah,
And the
and-
reporting, encouraging the
yeah,
reporting.
and the point of if you're gonna hire
no
someone, if you're gonna
enforcement.
hire someone and you're not sure if the person really checks up, you go to the registry and say, look, this name pops up in our workplace. We intend to hire this person. Is this name in the book as an offender? You know, and that's a good thing because at least you're trying to protect the character and the goodness of your company.
Right, but that's if a conviction has never happened. But it
that's
doesn't
another-
mean, right?
yeah,
So it doesn't mean. So
right,
that is
right.
why still, and sometimes because, you know, we talk about culture, right? We have different cultural practices. I think before we were talking about this thing about people kissing children on the mouth and all of that, right? Adults
Correct.
kissing children on
Yeah,
the
but
mouth.
that's another thing.
Right, all these kinds of behaviors people have. Some people do fondle genitals. Some adults do play with children's genitals as a way of joke and all kinds of. So, but if in your place you say, look, man, these behaviors are not appropriate because, you know, this so. So again, you know, at the same, so any adult who comes into that will understand that, look, you know, this is wrong. Or even if these things happened to me when I was a child, I can't do this again.
Talk about that a little bit more because maybe there may be some child watching the program, and I may want to, you know, to get this idea. I want to talk to that child and tell him or her when it is not okay if somebody touches you in a place that is not supposed to be touched.
So something that we teach children, and any adult should teach children, is that if any person touches you in a place and it makes you feel uncomfortable anywhere, go and tell an adult you trust, whether it's your parent, your youth leader, teacher, somebody that you don't like this touch. Now, of course, you might have a doctor or a nurse, but that's in the presence of your parent. If they have to give you an injection, that's not what we're talking about. It's touching in private parts or making you do things which you don't like doing, right? Or you shouldn't be doing. So let them, you know, please tell the parent. Now, with some teenagers who are now becoming sexual, you know, children, all
Mature.
children and you know, the maturity, the sexual beings. Something that we've talked about is that in Ghana we lack is something about sexual education, an appropriate comprehensive sexuality education program, which says that, you know your body. So yes, an adult might touch you in a way and you might feel pleasure. It might feel nice. But why is it that this is not correct for you? Right? That this feeling nice, but there's consequences. You know, it will feel nice now, but there are all these other consequences, diseases, pregnancy, you know, and all of these other things. Right? So this is also something that you have to talk to children about is understanding what is the appropriate, you know, what is appropriate and what is inappropriate.
You made another good point here because you may have a girl child at home, develop into a teenager, and you know you as parents, as a parent, you know your daughter, especially girl children, your daughter would normally like to come and jump on daddy and hug daddy up and you know and kiss daddy and say, daddy, how are you? When it's not appropriate for a male figure in a home to say, hey, no. This is the ending gap right now. This is the ending point where we hug and how we hug and so on and so forth. And that talk to us about that a little bit.
You tell me. You tell me.
I mean, because,
As men we talk.
mean-
Men we talk about girls, so you tell me. I've never had any child come to me and hug me up and sit and do all of that.
No, you don't.
Even big children, you know, babies or anything. I mean,
The reason why I ask the question
Right.
because there are still some parents who
right.
believe that is okay. You just talk about
Right, but
you just
there's
talk
a
about-
difference between the sexual touch, touching which is
Yeah,
hugging,
yeah.
which has as its goal sexual pleasure,
Yes.
as opposed to a goal which is emotional
Right.
reinforcement,
Right,
right?
right.
I think the two, there might be a little boundary, but I think, you know, an adult hugging a child in a way, there are different ways of hugging, and we know what the different ways are.
Especially uncle
Right.
and
Exactly,
cousin
there
and
are
so on,
different
right.
ways of, and it's, by the way, it's not only girl children, a boy children
Yeah,
could
well,
be, you know,
right,
a
both,
big, you know,
yeah.
boy children could be tantalized as well. And,
Right,
and we
right.
know as teenage boys growing up, our body reacts very quickly sometimes to the slightest stimulus. Right?
Right.
So all of, and people who know it will want to make fun out of it,
Right.
and right? So these are things that people have to understand about their bodies, about touch and so on. And I think sometimes there are people who will know that, hey, we don't, you know,
There's
that,
certain things you don't. She just mentioned
Right.
about kissing on the lips and all those kind of stuff.
well, you know,
Yeah.
the culture, there are
Yeah.
these things that you
Yeah.
have to talk about. Why we shouldn't, as we discuss, right? It's not a blanket. Do I say no to somebody, is it, or do I discuss with them here? This is why this might not be appropriate.
Right.
Okay, something key. As parents, when as parents, we have these children, we have these teenagers. I, as a youth leader, I am single. I have no kids, but I see all the children, the teenagers. I literally see them as my children. When I see them, I see people who I have to oversee, protect, guide, and care for. And I don't see myself desiring any of those children. On the contrary, I see them protecting them and shielding them and shielding them. So when I look at a child, when I understand that my role is to protect them and shield them, and when they come to me and they sit on my laps, because children come and do that. When you come and you hug them, the sexual desire, why would you have those feelings? If you yourself notice that you are developing something, that is because something is wrong with you. Because look, why would some people have attraction towards children? Pedophilia. Why? Something is wrong there. Something is totally wrong. Because if you have clear that you're a parent, it's because you have clear that your role is to protect, guide, shield. That is your role.
That's what
And
it's- right.
and there's something else. You need to love your kid. You need to give affection to your kid, not sexual caresses to your kid.
Good point. All right.
Those are two different things. When the child comes and hugs you, the child needs to feel loved, the child needs to feel protected.
Right.
The teenagers need this as well. Because that when you not, and they also need affirmation, they need positive words from you, they need you to commend them on whatever they do, their efforts, and they need also for you to be there to correct them. How do you do that? But how am I going to commend a child that's always doing things bad? That is something key. Let's suppose a child was washing his or her clothes. When you go and see how they hung the clothes, you saw that they didn't do it properly. What you need to do is you go to your son and you say, you know what, I'm very proud of you. You're really becoming independent. It's so good that now you came and you wash your clothes all by yourself instead of allowing them just to accumulate in the dirty basket. That's really good. But you know what? I have to teach you some tips. You see this shirt that you have here, you need to wash better under the arm. You get the blue soap, if you're washing by hand, you explain that to them. Instead of, you need to hang them on the wrong side. We have here some clips, let me show you how to do it. The same thing with the pants, wrong side, you come, you
Teachable, yeah.
teach that, and you're there with them in the process, and you're there with them. Each time you will notice that the child or the teenager will improve on what they're doing, and they will master it at the time. When you do that, you build confidence within the child. When you do that, you simply you simply build their confidence. And when people come and they approach them in a wrong manner, they would have clear that this person is trying to damage me. People imagine perpetrators as these horrible people, have a really creepy look. And sad to say, they can be our pastors, teachers, even youth leaders. They can be anybody.
Right there.
Right there. That's why usually we have these problems that when a case of sexual violence is reported, at times the children aren't believed. They believe the perpetrator rather than the child, because these people have disguised themselves for so long. These people have played they have had these double lives for so long and for so long, and have these double standards for so long, that when they are caught, people are appalled. People can't believe it. So this myth that perpetrators are creepy people, they look horrible, they look like people taken out from horror movies, it's a lie. They're not like that. They're the kindest people you can imagine.
You're going to say that they're wolves in sheep clothing.
Exactly.
Right.
So what is their usual tactic? Perpetrators are persons who are very close to us. That's why one of the things we would like to push for is for a psychological screening in the medical field, nurses, doctors, whoever is in the medical field, as well as in the fire service, army, police, and religious organizations. Because what has been happening, people say, no, is that those priests are bad. No, those Muslims, no, those pastors. Isn't everybody? Sad to say, is some people infiltrated. Sad to say, they're doing they have those tendencies, but it's not everybody. And these people are in key positions, and they're there to guide and protect people. That's why I would go, and if there's something like that put in place, I think it would be great to ensure that whoever is our teacher, lecturer, doctor, whatever position they're holding, they're indeed there to protect, and they aren't potential perpetrators. Some people have been simply suppressing these feelings, and some of them simply give in to them. And so we can, if that can be done, if it's detected, these persons can go to treatment, and they would simply be rehabilitated. That, for me, would be fantastic, together with a National Sex Offenses Act put in place, offering recovery, preventing repeated sexual violence cases, and be able to reform the person. That is something key, because it doesn't make sense that we put these people in prison and they come out worse than before or in the same state. The idea is that you go to prison, you're convicted, and you come out from there rehabilitated. That is key. And something else we need to push on. Perpetrators are, as I said before, are key persons around the victims. How do they do it? First, they manipulate. They love manipulate. They manipulate the parents, and they manipulate the kid. How do they do that? They come and they say, you know what? No, let's suppose I'm a perpetrator. I see a single parent. I see that the mother, the child's father doesn't look after him or her, and what I do, I go and supposedly have a relationship with with the parent, and then when I get her emotionally close, then I go and I attack the kid.
Because it's a focus,
how do you do it? You come supposedly, now look at the context, sad to say. This is a child that doesn't have a father figure. Mommy has now this new partner, which the child subconsciously hopes to have as a father figure. So what ends up happening? The child says, well, he's going to be my daddy. At times they say it, or they just keep it in their subconscious. And the perpetrator knows that. And what they do, they begin to play with the minds of the child before they actually commit the offense. Simple things like, first, the perpetrator would enforce things and say, I love you, you're so special, you know that you're very dear to me, I'm going to be your father now, I'm going to be your mother now. There's also a myth.
Connie.
Yes, sad to say, women do not commit sexual offenses. That's false.
But I think in the courts we have reached this week, there's a woman who has been charged with two cases.
Yeah, that's false. Women also. So you have to watch out. It's not just, men. No. Also, women are perpetrators. So first, they manipulate emotionally. I'm going to give you an example. the child comes, the child is here. And all the time I've been affirming the child, building the child's confidence. And one day I come and I ask the child, well, give me a kiss in the mouth. And the child says, no, I don't want to do that. And then the child and the perpetrator may say, if you don't kiss me, that means that you don't love me. Then you're beginning to build guilt within the child. You're making the child feel bad. So because you've been kind to the child, you've been really cute to the child, then the child would tolerate things that aren't correct. And that is something we need to watch out for. It doesn't matter who it is, youth leader, pastor, a teacher, it doesn't matter who it is. We need to know that nobody should touch you. If somebody is touching you, kissing you, I am asking you to touch them in their parts, nobody should ask you that, and that person doesn't love you. That person has a problem, and nobody should abuse of you. If any child, teenager is looking at this program, that is happening to them, notify someone who you trust. If the person who you go to doesn't believe you, go to another person, because maybe the person you're telling, they're also being manipulated.
Well, we are almost out of, I'm not really out of time, but your closing thoughts on this whole thing. What would you
Okay,
want
so
to say?
just to encourage people to understand, first of all, let's keep learning about what child abuse is. Let's teach, let's learn, let's unlearn let's deal with the issue of beating children. Let's stop beating our children first. Let's encourage good communication, I think, as continue what Pastor Rogers talked about before. Let us also remember, I don't know if any of the viewers at this time too, there might be adults here who, as children, they themselves might have experienced abuse. And to know that healing and recovery, sometimes breaking the silence is, it's just an important, talking about it, talking to someone about it. And there are organizations like Help and Shelter, which has, offer counseling services, or any person who you trust who you could tell, about surviving abuse and, overcoming it, because it leaves its scars on adults as well, right? So we just want to encourage people who have had that experience to also seek the recovery, to feel free to, it's not your shame. The abuser is the one who was the shame, who's the person to be shamed. So just to say, to thank you for us to talk about this and to keep talking.
Right.
Tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock at Central.
Yes, please come tomorrow. Do not come alone. Bring your friends with you. It's going to be really nice. Experts are going to be there. Mr. Kisun is going to be there together with Tilisha Williams that's the lawyer from the Child Protection Agency, as well as Ms. Musa Hudson from the Ministry of Public Health, a child psychologist, really good in what she does, and a very complete program. And you will have a question and answer segment, so you can ask all your doubts. You can ask there. That's the perfect time to do it.
All right, thank you very much for being on the program this evening. At least we have covered a lot of of stuff here, and we trust that as we go tomorrow to the program, we will get some more information in detail, and at least the solution as well, in how to protect your children from perpetrators of child abuse. That's it for us tonight. We're going to see you back here again next Friday for another program of Safe TV2 Presents. Have a good weekend and safe. Keep yourself safe from danger. All right? Bye-bye. See you next time.